We're super grateful to Qualcomm House for giving us this great space, and everything we do at Axios wouldn't be possible without our partners, and a great partner this week at Davos also is Lightspeed Venture Partners. So I'm very happy to welcome to the stage for a view from the top conversation. Partner and global leader at Lightspeed, Bejal Sumaya. Bejal, you beat me up here before I was done with the introduction. How are you?
I'm good. It's been a busy week.
Let's start really big picture. I want to talk like investment trends at a macro level. Gary just touched on some of the big economic pictures from your vantage point at a VC firm. Give us a sense of the mood. What are you looking at? How are the trends looking at? What's 2025 shaping up to be?
You know, I think if we take a step back from just 2025, our industry has been transformed. It was a cottage industry, small firms, small partnerships. Technology was in a corner of the economy. And if we think about what's happened, it's everywhere now. It's everywhere in enterprises.
The biggest story.
It's everywhere in our lives. The top 5 companies in the S&P are technology companies. 10% of GDP is the digital economy. And so what that means is the financing of technology companies is no longer a small business. It's grown about 10 times over the last 15 years, and that has a lot of implications for how we operate and how the industry is changing.
And how is your job, how is your day-to-day, how does the operation of the firm change when it's gone from something that's small to something that's really massive? I mean, the big stories today are hundreds of billions of dollars in projects.
Yeah, and it's not just the scale. It's, you know, there's a few things alongside the scale. So why has it grown? The size of the prize is bigger than we ever thought possible. Amazon went public in '99 at about $430 million market cap. Today, you have private companies that are north of $50 billion. And you have formerly venture-backed companies like Google or Amazon that are now worth trillions of dollars. So I think there's a recognition that the size of the prize is way bigger than any of us thought. But the complexity has also gone up. And we'll talk about, I mean, AI is going to be everywhere, right? But we've got to understand the underlying technology. It's changing at a pace that no technology has ever changed. That has implications for us as investors and how quickly we've got to wipe the slate clean and rethink what we thought was true.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because under Swiss law, I have to talk about AI up here during Davos. Let's do it in 2 pieces. Let's first talk about how it's impacting your life as a VC, and then I want to take a step back and talk about broader AI trends. So let's talk about AI like in your office.
Right well, now. Look, I want to, before we even go to AI, I think this is the mistake actually a lot of folks are making as it relates to their businesses. They think about, how can I use AI in my business? I think the first question for us is, what does AI mean for our business? So to give you a sense, the global market for software is about $900 billion, okay? But a lot of services are going to get automated. The global market for talent is way more than $900 billion. So first of all, there's going to be this massive market expansion because technology is no longer just going to automate workflows, it's going to automate work. So what does it mean if we're going to see a massive shift in addressable market for us? It means that we've got to rethink the way we operate as an organization, right? We've got to change our mindset. Way more expertise in the firm around technology and all of the sectors that AI is going to go into. Way more collaboration, way less individual ego and celebrity.
How do you view AI as an augmentation tool? We've talked this a lot up here on the stage and at Lightspeed House earlier this week. That balance between replacing workers and helping workers at a very high level in a VC firm. How is that journey for you?
Well, look, right now, and I think this is true of a lot of businesses, it will start with being a co-pilot. We'll start with augmentation. And that is the start of the journey. And over time, we'll have to see what levels the augmentation increases to. But, you know, for example, today, there used to be a time when an investor would come in on a Monday and talk about a portfolio company board meeting the prior week. Today, they don't need to do that because we will pull the board deck from email, run it through a model, summarize it into a template that we need, and we'll get summaries of that on Sunday night.
So then what's that guy doing on Monday?
Good question. We'll figure out how to augment it even more.
This is the fascinating part about Davos. It seems like in the past year, it went from, last year was AI hype, and this year is AI implementation, where we're finally seeing how it happens, and we're encountering those things where it's sort of like, well, you used to do this with a person, and now the person's not doing it. So what's the person doing, or what do I do next?
I mean, we're simplifying it. The person's obviously doing many other things.
Something better to do?
Certainly got something better to do. I would say a more qualitative overlay of what's happening in a company, right? And the discussion gets up-leveled. It may free up time for that person to spend more of their time finding the next Anthropic or Mistral or SpaceX.
Instead of summarizing something that's
Which
already
is
has to
the
go
single
forward.
most valuable thing they could do, right? So, again, I think it's easy to think about this as a replacement, but really, we will all be forced to up-level in some way and think about what our highest use is.
Where are we, or where are maybe you in that conversation, in the journey of seeing like the real ROI on it? As in, okay, I'm not doing things, or your employees or partners are not doing things that are lower value and are turning to higher value. When do you start to see the impact of that?
I think we'll probably see that later on this year, okay? I think today we're still leveraging this technology in a way that increases, let's call it productivity within the firm. But the real value, again, in our business comes from finding the next outlier. And that will come from the models that we're building to identify what those are without someone actually having to go through a bunch of lists or be out there in the field. They'll still do that. Or who are the most talented people? Where are the mafias of founders emerging from? If you think about the PayPal mafia, going back to Internet 1.0, there's a lot of people that came out of that mafia, including Elon Musk, that have created a shitload of value. Well, what are the next versions of that?
And you can ask an AI, I guess, to begin that journey. Give me some lists and then bring that to a human.
Absolutely.
To make the determination.
Absolutely.
To take a step back then away on the broader AI trends, like as an investor, as someone who serves on boards, who speaks to lots of people in the community, what are you looking for? What's next over the horizon? What are you keeping an eye on? What are the big picture AI trends?
Look, I think what we're keeping an eye on is enterprise adoption. Right. This is still, if we think,
And that's that implementation where we get to
yeah,
start to see ROI.
this is where technology meets the real world, right? If we think about 24, I would say we exited 24 with the technology more advanced than we thought when we entered 24, but with enterprise adoption less further than we thought when we entered 24, and that's because, and I was chatting with Gary earlier, it's change. You've got to change people. You've got to change organizations. People are worried about what this means, behavior, so on and so forth.
From an investment standpoint, then, what are you looking at? I mean, if companies that are going to benefit from this implementation this year, they exist, they probably have products out in market. What's the next thing over the horizon? What's the startup that comes after that?
Yeah, look, we've been pretty heavily invested in the foundation model layer. We're investors in Anthropic, XAI, Mistral, and one other that I can't speak about. But we've been fairly. I'm really sure. No. So we've been pretty active there. I think this will be the year that you start seeing an explosion of applications being built on top of the infrastructure. And that will start having this technology be usable in various different industries. You've already seen some in healthcare, you see some in defense. We'll start seeing this move into the real world, into manufacturing, robotics. I mean, I think when we are here next year, we'll be imagining a very different world.
I've heard that too. For folks in the room who are maybe not like at the cutting edge of investment, or maybe not at AI firms, but are on firms that will be impacted by this next, what's the advice you can give them? What can you tell them to watch out for? What should they beware of?
Yeah, look, I think today, I think most of us will be inclined to think about how we leverage AI like it is another technology. I think that's an error. I think the way and that may be okay just to start implementation. We need to understand the technology and think about if we were starting our business today, knowing that this technology exists, what kind of an organization would you build? Because that organization is going to look very, very different. And if we're just leveraging it, all our gains are going to be incremental.
So this is like your advice seems to be even more aggressive. Don't use AI to improve processes that exist. Blow up those processes and start from scratch.
Start somewhere. So if it starts with just automates, that's fine. But it can't just be that. There needs to be, if you're running a big company, you should have someone at exec level that is thinking about what would we do if we started this business today, understanding the capabilities of this technology, and ideally having a forward view of where this is going.
And we talked about this earlier with some of the events at Lighthouse, advice on just using it in daily life. Is that a good way? I mean, how often are you talking to LLM to figure out things?
Every day.
What are your favorite use cases of that?
Well, it could be, I asked Claude to design a nutrition plan for me that had 150 grams of protein and a maximum of 2,000 calories a day. And it did a better job than a nutritionist could. And then I said, here are the things I don't eat and a bunch of medical conditions I have, and I have a great plan. So anything from there to We need to hire a next great enterprise investor. Give me the name. Give me a list of the top 5.
So get in there and start using it.
Get in there and start using
it out. That's awesome. We're going to end on one fun thing here because we love to do that at Axios here in Davos. We end on one Davos thing. We're halfway through the week. How's your Davos been? What's the tip to get through the rest of it?
Save your sleep for the flight home.
See you at the nightcaps tonight. Bejul, thanks for being here. Thanks
Thank you.
Lightspeed for making all this possible. Let's get Ina Fried up here to continue the conversation.